Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 88 for the Slice of Gaming podcast for March 8th, 2025. I am your host, the Uncharted Wolf, and I am joined today by a very special panel. I'm joined by Bench.
Hello, I'm here and I've been gaming.
And our special guest for this week, Beef Hammer. How you doing, Beef?
Doing good. It's a good week. It's a good week, boys.
Very good week for you, especially, I could tell.
Mm-hmm.
In the world of gaming, it's been kind of a lighter news week, outside of like one major announcement, but otherwise a lot of fun tidbits here and there, things that we can kind of like parse about. But overall, very light week. I think me and Bench were talking about this before the podcast. It seems like everyone's kind of waiting for that Switch 2 Direct for the news to start really picking up again. So March is most likely going to be a lighter month, but hey, I mean, that means we're going to have a lot more fun topics, a lot more discussions. I'm excited to see where we go from here. Shorter episode this week, but I'm thinking we can have some good discussions. If you guys want to find us, we're on every one of your favorite podcast platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the above. We're on Twitter and Blue Sky at A Slice of Gaming. But I think we're about ready to just jump right into it. Beef, Tony Hawk.
Yes.
We have been talking about it for the last few weeks. A lot of teases, a lot of discussions. But now the official announcement for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. There were some extra details, but just base level, what are your thoughts on this trailer of that July 11th release date? How are you feeling right now?
Pretty good, actually. I was kind of thinking that's about when it's coming out. I think that's good time for it. Hopefully pretty open, not too many games coming out, so this could shine. And this trailer, I'm pretty happy about it. I know we'll talk more about the details, but for me, who was mostly on the Tony Hawk 3 side as a kid, and 2, but yeah, for this release, more 3, I'm pretty happy with it. Looks basically like what I wanted, what I feel like a lot of people wanted, and for the longest time didn't think we were gonna get. So yeah, I'm pretty jazzed right now.
Dude, no, that's awesome. I mean, this is kind of something that we actually knew was happening a few years back, and then it was canceled because Vicarious folded within Blizzard and this whole weird situation, but it seems like it was revived. I'd like to think, I don't know if you think this, Beef, that Tony Hawk himself was very much a pivotal aspect of trying to get this thing back into existence, because it seems like he's very passionate about this franchise.
Yes, there was that. There was, and I've also thought about this. Weirdly enough, I think I was on this podcast like for the first time right when this happened. This 1+2 finally came to Steam like 3 or 2 years after it came out, and I'm like, I'm not sure. Yeah, speaking of which, yeah, and I'm not sure like which A's. So we had to think about that. Like this game didn't come to PC, and then when it did, it came to Epic like first after years. So many reasons, yeah, like Activision kind of screwed this, and I'm glad it's getting rectified because, yeah, like I did not think we were gonna get it, but yeah, I'm thinking we finally got over the finish line, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of things help, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty just happy we got it.
Yeah, you think what's your kind of thoughts on Iron Galaxy taking over? Are you a little worried,
I'm
but are you just like, yeah, it's fine?
Yes, yeah, I'm a little worried because they're like the work for hire studio. I feel like nowadays, almost it's like they do like everything. I was looking up what people were talking about. I didn't even remember they worked on like the Metroid Prime remaster. Like they, so yeah, they'll do
Yeah, it was like a
anything.
support thing. Yeah, they're very
And
support studio based.
yeah, which is like, and like I know a lot of people are talking about like oh, after this, do you do Tony Hawk Underground games? Do you do a new one? And I'm like, I would like that too, but I'm like, do you have Iron Galaxy still do those? So that's kind of why I wish someone like a new team or someone got pulled to like make it instead. But for right now, I mean, maybe they'll do that in the future. But for right now, I'm just like, oh, I guess this is like the easiest way to at least get the ball rolling. So I'll take it. It does help that, like you said, yeah, they've worked on the previous one, so they have some experience.
I've been pretty adamant that I think they do the main 4 remasters because, like, it's the Pro Skater franchise. It's the one that with the most recognizable name within, like, kind of the gaming community. And then I think you stop with the remaster. You just make a new game. Because, I mean, I saw in the trailer they added a new water park map. This is a brand new map. This is a case of, like, I think that's kind of Iron Galaxy flexing their arms a bit and saying, hey, we can do a new map as well. let us make a new game. This is kind of our test bed for what we could eventually do with the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 6.
Mhm.
Did 1+2 not have any new maps?
I don't think it actually did have any new maps. I'm pretty sure it did not
Yeah.
say it, which is weird to think about, but no, it was just 1+2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, do
Um,
you think that's a possibility, Beef? Like, just like they move on to the next brand new game rather
yeah,
than
that's what
doing
I'm
Underground?
hoping. I mean, like, because back in the day, like, yeah, they would have to, that's kind of how it like spiraled out of control. Is like you always had to do something new because the games came out like every year. But now it's like in 5 years for this one, I'm sure it'd take longer to make a new one. So it feels like you don't have to like come up with something wholly new to make a six, or like they tried with five, where it was like always online and like all this weird crap. So yeah, I feel like all you really need, like, yeah, is just do a six brand new map. I think that would be like basically good enough, I think, to kind of get started as like not just a series they're gonna keep remastering and remaking.
Yeah, 100%. It's a weird situation, or not a weird situation, but like an interesting situation to follow. Like this whole Tony Hawk kind of licensing, bringing
Mhm.
back this franchise. It is, it's a big deal. I think I'm very excited for Tony Hawk fans. I'm very excited for myself. I
I was about
recently
to
checked it
say,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, because I'll talk about it when what we've been playing, but I've been really enjoying those games,
Mhm.
checking them out, and I'm interested. Beef this pre-order bonus or digital deluxe edition bonus. Doomslayer and the Revenant. These kind of
Mhm.
are the guest characters. And looking back at the history of Tony Hawk was very funny. They've had Darth Maul and Spider Man and like these really weird, like crazy third party franchise things that you couldn't do nowadays because of how much bigger Marvel and Star Wars
Yeah.
is. But Doomslayer, I feel like that's a good choice, and it almost thinks it's like, maybe eventually a Master Chief.
Mhm.
God, what's the guy from Gears of War called? Dom?
Oh, Marcus. Yeah, Dom is
Marcus.
his friend. Marcus is the other
That's
main.
but like Marcus, Master Chief Banjo. That's my
Mhm.
dream. Do you think that type of thing is possible, or is it just like here's a bone because like Doomslayer was in the PC version?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, like, and because Doomslayer also it looks hilarious. Like all they're going
Yeah.
with, like it looks like it. I'm like, this feels like it's put a lot of love into it. I wanted more of that. I'm like, it's yeah, and I've seen like people are like, oh, it used to be free, now it's paid, and I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, I get it. It's bummer that like that's what the point now. It's like guest characters. Let's like has to like all be tied with like all this money now. So
Of
I
course.
would like more. I think that I don't know if they do that for this or if that's something they just save like for future ones. So it's not like oh, I'm turning Tony Hawk into like our Smash Brothers, even though that
Yeah.
even though that sounds kind of dope. I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna do that. So maybe we'll get some. It would be nice to go back because I don't think 1+2 had any hidden characters like guest characters. There may have been skaters, but I don't recall if there was any
Oh, like
like
a
special.
skeleton guy,
Yeah, it's like
which
that
that was
stuff.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like exactly though, it's not really guest characters, and
Hmm.
I'm excited that they're kind of like opening the door for that possibility. Now,
Yeah.
one thing I really want to discuss, and I think we talked about this last you were on the podcast talking about this game. Water64 posts this. Activision confirms Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 plus 4 will not have the original career mode. Quote, instead, like the first three games, each Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 level will feature a list of challenges to complete in a 2-minute run. Now, this is something kind of we were discussing. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 famously went open world. They did this mission structure type joint. And I've heard mixed things about it. I heard people go like,
Hmm.
oh, it was cool, but like it was a fun experiment because there was 3 games in a row doing the same thing. It was cool that they did something different. But it's not necessarily like what I want from Tony Hawk. I don't really have any preference because I don't know anything about how that plays. Beef, what's kind of your viewpoint on like Pro Skater 4 and ditching this?
Yeah, so I'm planning to play more of I've played a little, but I'm gonna play even more for like base 4. I'm gonna go back because
Oh,
this
nice.
is I did not play much for. Not just because again, I don't think I had as a kid and I just never got that far. I was satisfied as 3. So I'm gonna go back and like I play a little bit, see like how different it is because minus it is like a weird middle ground between like and then they went underground was like fully that with like some story elements. So
Hmm.
I'm I don't know exactly what I think about it because again, it's like for me, I've heard other people say some of us like that sounds like an improvement. but for me, it's like I'm not the Tony Hawk 4 fan, so it's like
Yeah.
it may sound good to me, but almost like you're not making it for me. You're trying to make it for the 4 fans. So this is the weird thing of like, is this because it's just Iron Galaxy, like we're just gonna try and make it as easy as possible? Was this something they thought about even before it was canceled? Because I'm assuming they did like some brainstorming of how this was.
Yeah.
It sounded. I don't know. This is one thing I would like to know about when it was canceled. Like, how much did they do any work on 3+4, or like, and now Iron Galaxy's picking up, or what's the situation with that? So yeah, I feel like the best case scenario is at this point is like maybe it's like if there's enough reaction, they can like add it post launch. I'm not holding out too much
Mhm.
hope, but like again, because some people are like this can't. I've heard people who sound like they're like I don't think they can um put it into the 2-minute time limit at all. Like, and it's gonna work. They think it's just gonna not be good at all. Whereas,
That's the question I have
mm,
because it's like it's an open world game initially. So how
mm,
would a 2 minute time limit work in that sense? Are you just going to
mm,
shorten the levels, change them out? Because that feels like a weird
yeah,
decision.
what? Because the skate parks, from what I've played, it is. I mean, people again, it's always hard to know because I think it does get like a lot different later on with like especially challenges, but it still does have like skate parks just bigger. In some cases, I don't know
Mhm.
how many people are going to be able to recognize the bigger, but a lot of the challenges are still like, get this many points, get skates, get all the letters. There's still stuff like that, but I think I've heard like there's a lot of even weirder and harder ones that people are like. That's why I'm not sure it's going on because now you can see like it's like you're given 2 minutes, but you can just do whatever challenge you're trying to do as many challenges or maybe just going for one challenge. You're not like skating around then picking the mission and doing that one mission. So again, I'm not sure. I wish I could say I knew more, but basically it's like I'm at the point where it's like I think we're just all gonna have to wait and see. But I know a lot of people are still like a little bummed about it, but I'm hoping they do it well. But I'm mostly just like I gotta wait and see.
Yeah, 100%. This is a case of like get your hands behind the sticks. Let's see how it feels, how it
Hmm.
works. Maybe they kind of nailed it. It's like, yeah, this does work better from a 2 minute standpoint.
Yeah,
We will see, but that's July 11th. A bit of a wait. There was that rumor that it was going to be shadow drop. That was just completely wrong.
I know. I
So
was
that was a weird choice.
I would like and I was like I was a little hoping about it, although mostly because I'm not playing many of the big games right now. But I'm sure
Yeah.
it sounds like I think July's better. I looked at the schedule. There's nothing right now. I don't think a lot of games come out in July, and I think
Hmm.
that's a good time to get this game. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
July is usually just like a Nintendo release, like a Fire Emblem or a Pikmin. But
Yeah.
other than that, it's pretty empty.
So this will
not
be Xbox's July game.
pretty
So,
much. I assume, yeah.
so when is Oblivion remake?
I think
I
in
mean, the rumor was June.
I can
when
deal. I can deal with that.
when is because the that anniversary is the 20th. Man, that's coming up
20th
soon
of
too.
March, I
Is
think. Yeah.
is Oblivion March 20th is Oblivion's anniversary. That's coming up soon. So that also I'm looking forward to
That's
that
big.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
And last thing,
Yeah.
but last thing I took, I think I am gonna buy the collector's edition. I really want
With
that.
the
I want,
skateboard?
I want that skateboard so much. Even though it's
I
on Game
respect it.
Pass, I'm like, we were
You
so close to,
gotta.
we were so close to not getting it, and like,
You
I
gotta
like hanging,
support it.
and I like have skateboards on my wall. That's like one decoration. I
Yeah.
don't buy collector's edition, but I'm like that works. So it's a little more than I want because I don't really need the game, but I'll pay the little extra.
I think in the case of like a
And
franchise that you thought was effectively dead,
yeah.
that's the case you buy the collector's edition to show, yeah, I want
Mhm.
more of this.
Yeah.
Well, we will see with bated breath, hopefully July 11th. Again, not too far. I'm excited to see
Nah.
that. Moving on to our next story, Rockstar is in the news. Not for GTA, though. God forbid they release another GTA 6 trailer. We have some interesting acquisition here. Noble kind of brought this up. Rockstar has acquired Sydney-based dev Video Game Deluxe, who did the LA Noire, the VR Case Files. The studio will be renamed to Rockstar Australia. The studio was founded in 2013 by former devs of Team Bondi, the developers of LA Noire. And interestingly enough, they have the person who directed LA Noire at that studio. Do you guys think this is more of a support-based acquisition? Are they actually going to be doing like their own games for Rockstar? Or is it just, hey, we need more like developers on hand for like our big major titles?
Probably support.
Unfortunate. I always want to see Rockstar do some more interesting stuff and like, hey, have this team maybe work on like a smaller LA Noire 2 style game or in that range. But Rockstar's just such a big company now, and they're just like, yeah, we're a one game studio, and one game studio, aka 5-10 studios working on one game because of how huge they are.
Yeah,
I,
I would hope, yeah, it's not that, and we do get, them like working on anything basically, and not
yeah,
throwing
like
more people.
remasters.
Yeah, especially remasters. Actually, that'd be perfect. I've been really thinking about, like almost any of Rockstar games kind of need remasters at this point because yeah, like how long it takes between ones, I think that would help. So yeah, something like GTA 4 especially. So yeah, that would actually be much better. But yeah, I'm unfortunately thinking it might just be support.
Yeah, I think this is just a case of like they want to try to basically say, hey, we're gonna make sure you guys don't like shut down or anything bad
Hmm.
happens. We want to make sure we own you for ourselves, so that way we have more people supporting on our games. But I would love the idea of like, hey, we're gonna remaster GTA 4 and we're gonna use this studio instead of Grove Street Games or whatever the hell they were called. That'd be more interesting to me, but we don't really know their plans with the studio yet. Moving into our next story, Respawn Entertainment is in the news and they cancel yet another mysterious FPS game. What is this, like the third game that's been canceled within Respawn?
Yes, that sounds right. Something like that.
Cale Adams brought this up. He's on Push Square. With the rate at which AAA games are canceling video game projects, we all might need to contend ourselves with our backlogs in the future. God, that's the realest first sentence I've ever heard. The news comes to us via a SIDS deleted post on LinkedIn in which Emily Evans, former executive assistant and production coordinator at Respawn, revealed, quote, the unannounced incubation project I was a part of the past year was canceled this week. It's another unfortunate blow for fans of the developer. So not much to go off of here. There was this big rumor that, oh, this was Titanfall 3. But then Jeff Grubb immediately came in and said, no, this was not Titanfall 3. This was... I watched the podcast last night, Beefy. I think you did too. He said something like, this was effectively an extension of that Star Wars game that was canceled from them. Like the
Yes, I think it was a
Mandalorian game.
Yeah, Star Wars FPS. That sounds like I was just about to say. I was like, is that what he said? And yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right.
Yeah, this is a weird thing. Do you guys think EA is kind of fumbling Respawn and not really treating them right in a
Yeah, for sure.
sense of word?
I mean, they
No,
haven't put out a solid campaign in like a decade, right?
Respawn?
In a long,
They
right?
did Jedi Survivor.
Oh yeah, they did. Okay, I meant
Yeah,
like
they did
FPS
both.
campaign.
No, yeah, I get what you mean. I like a FPS campaign because it feels like their teams are
kind of what
split
they're known
within
for. Yeah.
Apex and God, what's the other team? The Jedi team. You
Mhm.
have these two teams, and it's always like it feels like they have a third team doing something. Like they put out that Medal of Honor VR game that
Oh
didn't really
yeah.
make any waves. They keep having this third nebulous team within Respawn, and it just seems like they're constantly getting their projects canceled or nobody plays them to the point where maybe EA comes in and says, just stop doing stuff, just help support like the Jedi and Apex teams. But even then, they keep saying like, "Oh, we're winding down Apex support," and then I hear another quote from a big exec saying, "No, we're actually winding it up." And it feels like this weird, like they don't know what they're doing with Apex, which
Hmm.
not really surprising when it comes with EA and their live service titles. I'm just kind of frustrated with the direction that EA has taken Respawn, where it's like, just hey, go into the studio and say, make a Titanfall 3. And that's not even like you guys. This isn't a case like a Banjo where it's like, it would sell so much. It's like, it's not like the Banjo game sold that well on N64, that type of thing.
Hmm.
Titanfall 2 would have sold substantially more if it didn't come out the time it did. Everyone knows that. Like, everyone knows that. And the fact that, like, EA is weirdly stubborn, like, well, Titanfall 2 didn't sell that well, so we're not going to greenlight 3. I just don't get it, personally.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm kind of like looking at Respawn, like I'm worried now that like Simpella's like Vince Simpella's like now doing like a bunch of work on
It's a
Battlefield.
busy guy.
I'm like I would almost kind of prefer them like work on something on like with Respawn again, back on this
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah,
He's spread thin.
I don't want EA to like now like I feel like we're all worried about like Warner Brothers and Ubisoft. I'm like I feel like EA's is like going down there. It's like don't just become just the sports team publisher. So yeah, it's worrying.
I mean, I don't think I could worry that bad because they do have
Mhm.
EA Originals that has been working
Yeah,
out.
those are always good. Yeah.
Those are kind of like hit or miss sometimes. So, we got like Immortals of Avium, but then you have, we'll talk about it later, Split Fiction, which Jesus, that Hazelight like partnership has worked with EA in such a way that like I don't even think EA realized what they really have. So I'm very curious to see kind of what the extent of that partnership goes. And I'm not really a fan of EA, but I keep seeing them do cool things and then really stupid things. And I'm like, come on, EA. Like, you guys are better than this. You have this weird. And then there's Skate. Like,
Oh yeah.
that nebulous Skate game. That I don't get it.
I mean, at least they're better than Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Not a high
Oh,
bar,
yeah, right
but,
now. Yeah, for sure.
But they used to be uttered in the same breath, and they're obviously better than them.
Yeah. EA is weirdly like doing better. Arguably, you could say Activision, but Activision's within Microsoft now. And
Yeah.
I mean, we just got Tony Hawk, so we will see kind of the extent of what Respawn will be doing moving forward. Moving into our next story, not a lot to say here, but this is a cool kind of headline. Warrior64 brought this up. Acclaim is back and is led by CEO Alex Joseph, the former founder and CEO of Graffiti Games. Publisher initial goals are to, quote, support indie developers and reignite classic franchises, provide funding, marketing, and PC support to indie studios. And also something that was brought up, apparently, so one of the people on the board is like a former professional WWE wrestler.
Yep.
Which that's just really funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not much to say here. You guys have much history with Acclaim. They were mostly a licensed game studio, a lot of wrestling games, which I just didn't grow up with.
I was gonna say, I was like, I'm only a few years older, but I was like, I remember the Acclaim name on like a bunch of stuff. Well, at least I remember seeing it. I couldn't remember exactly what games, but I'm trying to
They
think
were
if
on
they.
like NBA Jam. I know
Yeah,
was
that
one of the
sounds
big
right.
ones.
I think they also like helped with like a lot of cons or like porting too. That was also a big thing they did. So I could
Yeah.
be wrong on that, but like yeah, you'd see them on like more games than you think, and then yeah, they just went away. So I don't know what to think about it. I don't have like highest hopes, but we'll see. I
Yeah,
guess.
looking it up, they do a lot of licensed games.
Hmm.
The game that sunk them was BMXXX.
Yep.
Which, hey man, what a way to go out.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Acclaim, good to see them back. I am interested in this whole like more indie initiative. It seems like they're kind of moving. We don't want to be the licensing house. We want to be the, hey, we help publish indie games, kind of like a Devolver Digital, which more of that is always exciting. I'm just gonna have to like kind of wait and see. I'm not gonna immediately like take them at face value. Like, yeah, you guys are gonna nail it. It's like I want to wait to see what they're able to do. But cool to see that name back.
Mm-hmm. It's weird that they went with that name, considering and like seemingly is like just known for like license stuff. But I mean, I'm in the news, so I guess it works. So yeah, now we just have to wait and see what they're gonna do with it.
It was that weird Mandela effect beef where I thought Acclaim lasted way longer than they actually did. They went down in 2004.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
and it's like in my mind, I always associate them as like, yeah, they went around till like 2010, 2011, but like, nope, way sooner than that. Very interesting news at the very least. Next one is another interesting headline. Tom Henderson brought this up. Exclusive Ubisoft's Far Cry extraction-based multiplayer shooter has been rebooted. The Far Cry extraction-based multiplayer shooter under codename Maverick has been rebooted. Project Maverick, which was initially intended as a multiplayer component to Far Cry 7, morphed into its own project in early 2023. But after internal review, the project has been rebooted. That's according to several sources familiar with the project development who said that the writing was on the wall for a number of months. It was said that the final nail in the coffin came after its dedicated tech team called, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, moved from Maverick to be fully dedicated to Blackbird in late December to ensure the project stays on track. There's a whole lot more to the story, but not much else to say, but Ubisoft Fire continues to stay on fire.
I think this one's actually pretty disappointing because the Alaska setting was much better than the leaked setting for Far Cry 7. So this was something I was interested in kind of seeing play out because Alaska is a really cool place and it'd be cool to see it in a game once again. But it's unfortunate that I mean, will the setting even stay the same? We don't know.
I'm kind of with Bench. I don't remember this rumor beforehand, but when I heard about this, I was like, actually, I could see that, like, especially with Far Cry's like in an extraction shooter. But I don't know. I guess I have too much trust, anyways, because Ubisoft, especially the multiplayer stuff, hasn't been hitting. So yeah, it's like we'll see if we even get it. But yeah, I was like, I don't know. It could work, but I'm just like now. I'm like, I don't believe it's gonna come out.
Yeah, this is just one of those weird cases of like Ubisoft trying a multiplayer thing and it just constantly kind of rebooting and restructuring. It almost feels like they're constantly trying to get that Rainbow Six Siege like fire back, and
Oh yeah.
it almost always doesn't work out. They always do this with Far Cry specifically, where they'll tack in a multiplayer mode and nobody plays them. I wish they'd learn. It's like nobody wants to play Far Cry for the multiplayer. Like if you put a Far Cry name on a multiplayer game, nobody's interested. It's a single player franchise first and foremost with co-op elements. Like maybe that's what you can lean into more, the co-op stuff, but which granted this is what Maverick seemingly was going to be, this kind of extraction based co-op shooter, which yeah, it could work, but I just don't know why Far Cry needs to be part of it. But yeah, Ubisoft Fire continues to stay on fire. I mean, Assassin's Creed Shadows coming up. What's kind of y'all's like viewpoint on this game?
What, Shadows or the extraction shooter?
Oh, Shadows. I already
I
asked
have
Bench last week. I
like
mean, I want to know you beef.
I have some hope. I mean, I drafted my and now draft, but I said
Oh yeah,
in low 80s. I
yeah,
When is that out? 2 weeks? I
yeah.
don't
March
know.
20th.
It's just
Go ahead, Bench. Well, look
I
something
just
up.
I just mean I just don't have much interest in the game. Like I've said before, I think the setting is going to be really cool. It's just something I get on sale on top of just
Hmm.
it's coming out on the same day as Xenoblade, and that's a game I'm infinitely more interested in it. And that I could say that with a lot of games this year compared to Shadows. There's so much going on that I'd rather be playing than a 70-hour Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
pretty
feel
similar.
like
I was
sorry,
gonna
go
say
ahead.
I was gonna say I'm pretty similar. And like I'm not interested in it. I'm just like I think it'll do fine. Like critically and sales wise, I think it'll do fine. But I guess we'll
People,
wait and
yeah,
see.
people are playing it too. Like got
Oh yeah.
confirmation. It's in reviewers' hands. So
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what Assassin's Creed Shadows is able to do. But again, I don't think any amount of sales for the game is gonna help stop Ubisoft's downfall from
No.
continuing.
it'll delay it, but it won't stop it. So
Exactly. And I don't know how much sales it needs to delay it, but like probably not like 10 million, it probably needs 15 million,
yeah,
which that's just not realistic, especially after they released a game that sold 1 million in a month with the Star Wars IP on it,
I was
which
just,
that is the most flabbergasting story I've ever read. I could
mhm.
not believe
yeah.
that.
And I know games don't need that holiday time frame anymore, but if there's any game that could use that holiday time frame, it's Assassin's Creed. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
getting out of that November window is probably the biggest franchise that hurts from getting out of that window.
Yeah, I mean that's when it's like always been, and it usually has like survived off that. So yeah, it is weird. And yeah, I'm also like worried because it's like everyone always asks for the Japanese setting, and now it's like this is the one where it's like it seems so shaky. So I'm like, where do you go from here afterwards? It's like I don't
Yeah.
know. I have no idea.
Moving into our next story, this was an interesting one. So Nintendo Life brought this up. Liam Doolin over there. Nintendo confirms removal of Switch Online SNES game. Following yesterday's update about the removal of Super Formation Soccer from the Switch Online Super Famicom service in Japan, Nintendo has now confirmed the local version of the game will also no longer be available later this month. The official game page for Super Soccer on Switch Online Super Nintendo service notes how this title will be removed from the digital game library on the 27th of March 2025. The title is listed as a Spike Chunsoft release. So I don't think any of us are mourning Super Soccer specifically, but this is more of a case of kind of like the future proofing. This is now the first game to be removed from the Switch Online service. And kind of that was always the notion that a lot of us NSO fans always said was, oh, they don't remove games. But it was always the case of, well, eventually they're going to, and this is the start of that. Do you guys think this is kind of a snowball effect? We're going to start seeing a lot of more third parties start pulling their games, like now that the contracts are expiring? Or is this just kind of like a weird, like, one-off?
I mean, I think it's a weird one-off. I think it's probably some... I've never heard of who makes Super Soccer, but it could be in some weird... Spike Chunsoft?
Yep.
Yeah, the guys who did Danganronpa.
Okay, so that's a little different, but I do think it's just... I think a lot of the games that are on the service are some pretty close Nintendo partners, and it wouldn't even shock me if this pops back up in like a month or two after they get it sorted out.
Yeah, that could be true. Yeah, because it's like, how much is like this contract like worth for like SNES games? That's why I always assumed. I was like, I don't think anything's ever getting taken off. It seems like
It's
just like
cheap.
it seems, like basically like, is there even like recurring revenue based? Like, here's some money we're gonna put it on. Basically, I don't know for how long, 10 years, something like that. So yeah, I just assumed nothing was gonna go off. So it's like, I don't think anyone's like worried about like bigger games going, but yeah, it's just like I never thought this would happen.
If this starts to happen more frequently and we start seeing more games get removed, it would be nice if they allow us to buy these games.
Yes.
Because it's just a weird case of like, that's always the thing that stops NSO from truly being the best of the best. Because, I mean, listen, I'm of the opinion, I think NSO is substantially better than Virtual Console, just from a kind of the amount of games being added. Not maybe the rate, because they very much drip feed us, but I just think that the service as a whole is a lot better. Especially if you compare it to the Wii U Virtual Console, where the fucking games were emulated horribly. Like, the emulation here is substantially better. But
Yeah.
kind of the thing that always stops NSO is like, oh, you can't buy the games, which is really weird. Especially like sometimes you got to do an online check-in, which isn't a lot, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's a subscription service. These are the kind of qualms of a subscription service. And it's always that difference between, do you like the benefits of being a subscription service or a paid service more? And I kind of want them to meet in the middle there.
And I'm curious, because I could see with Switch 2 we get a big NSO revamp, because I do think, like I've said a lot, I think it'll be a big online focus and kind of interconnectivity focus for the Switch 2, because I think that's a big selling point. So I could see there just be some kind of thing, but that could also be wishful thinking.
Yeah, I think you'll get some type of NSO revamp, but not maybe not like, oh, the whole service as a whole changes, like the UI and the way we're organizing everything. But just like, hey, we're gonna add a bunch of shit and we're gonna like kind of add in some things to like make the experience better.
Because another thing is you want those new subs whenever people get those Switch 2s.
I mean, you're gonna get a lot of new subs when Mario Kart comes out. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah,
it's gonna be ridiculous. I don't think we're ready for just how big of a launch Mario Kart 10 will be.
Yep. I'm glad we all agree it's 10.
Yeah, no,
it's so.
Weirdo saying 9. Come on, you're a fake fan. That's almost like I know you're not a real Mario Kart fan if you say 9. Moving into, I wanted to bring this up. There's a little surprise, but this is something I found while we were like recording, and I was just like, oh yeah, I guess we could just really quickly bring it up. The Metacritic publisher rankings came out this week. Really interesting stats. I don't know. Did you guys kind of peer through this?
A little, yes. I know who number 1 is. I heard.
Yeah, number 1 and 2, not surprising, are Sega and Capcom, which like you look at the year they had last year, that's just not surprising at all to me. I mean, Sega, especially with Metaphor and Like a Dragon and Persona 3 Reload, just this constant flow of games coming out of Sega. Very consistent, not a lot of flops. Not even any flops, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think anything.
Yeah. And then Capcom. Capcom had more of a weirdly consistent year last year, and that's kind of what brought them at the top. where they didn't have anything in the 90s, but they had stuff like Dragon's Dogma, putting their review score super high, Kunitsugami, like just random one-off titles that just like, hey, this is kind of doing what we need it to. It's around the 80s. We're very happy with that. And it's like Capcom and Sega kind of showing they're very consistent. But honestly, the most interesting stat of all to me, where do you guys remember Nintendo placing?
I remember it being quite low. Not, I wasn't surprised, but yeah, what's the number?
22. Under Ubisoft. Yeah. It's a dark day for humanity. Which, by the way, I want to point out, Nintendo's previous year rank in 2023 was ranked 6.
Oh, really? Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what I was surprised about. It was only ranked 6 in 2023.
That was Mario and Zelda. I'm surprised.
I think. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to remember.
Mario, Zelda, Pikmin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the winner in 2023 was Sony. What?
Spider-Man.
You know what it is? Averages.
They count the ports too, I think, a lot. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember the Sony ports, but I think that may have helped too.
But yeah, Nintendo, they kind of brought this up. It's like games like Endless Ocean Luminous and Fitness Boxing 3, like really like low rated games in the 50s and 60s.
Let's take the average.
Yeah, and the thing is, Nintendo didn't have like major stuff. Like their highest rated game was Thousand Year Door, which obviously amazing at an 88. But then from there, it was just a lot of like Princess Peach Showtime in the 70s, Mario and Luigi high 70s, like Mario Party I think was like low 80s. It's like games that weren't reviewing badly, but like not to the standards that I think a lot of us put Nintendo. Now I say all that, this year's going to be a different story, like just purely based off Switch 2. Immediately we're getting a Mario Kart that tells you a lot, that we're going to get some very high review scores coming out of Nintendo, and I assume that rank is going to skyrocket.
And you're going to have Mario and Mario Kart, both of those. Mario will be like mid-90s, and Mario Kart will be low 90s.
Yep.
And I also want to bring up Sony was at number 4. So everyone who says, man, Sony had an awful year last year. Not really.
They won Game of the Year.
They had an average year, I'd say, as a whole, but Astrobot was like very much their standout. Also, I found this interesting. Square Enix at 6. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth really helped them there. But also, Metacritic points out they didn't release any bad games in 2024. And if you guys remember,
Dawn Trail
and Dragon
Quest.
But
that wasn't. Yeah, but those added to the average. But specifically, like, you guys remember, like, there was a 2022, I think, where Square Enix released like 20 games.
Yeah.
And now in 2024, they only released like pretty small amount of games. Metacritic points out 26 products, 12 titles. Kind of tells you it's like Square Enix is kind of like hunkering down. It's like, let's rely on like specific franchises. Now, whether that works out for them in the long run, we will see. But I'm curious to kind of see what their new strategy moving forward that way is.
We should be getting NIS America.
24, yeah.
Shout outs to them.
Yes, thank you, NIS America, for the code.
Thank you.
Moving into reviews of the week, we got one very big one and a smaller one, but still exciting. Split Fiction at a 90 on OpenCritic. This is a very interesting stat, actually. This is the first EA game to go score above a 90 since Mass Effect 3, which honestly that says more about EA than it does about Split Fiction, I'll be honest.
I almost didn't believe it, but that's weird to think about.
But yeah, lots of 9s, lots of 10s. People are very, very high on Split Fiction. None of us are playing it right now, but I think kind of the agreement is that we're eventually going to play it by the end of year.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of us, similar to me, my roommate who I played It Takes Two with, who were like, we'll wait until like May because we got a bunch of like school stuff. So yeah, I guess that's what happens to co-op games. So yeah, I don't think any of us can talk about it, unfortunately.
I want to get to it. I never beat It Takes Two, so me and my friend that were playing it, we're like, okay, we're gonna restart. We're gonna actually finish It Takes Two this time, and then we're gonna jump in Split Fiction. But I'm excited. I really cannot wait. Everything I've seen about this game is absolutely mind-blowing. It's like Joseph Fares and Hazelight, they are an all-star team, and they are ones to pay attention to.
Agreed.
And also, point out 190K concurrent players on Steam right now, which is massive. This is their biggest launch for their one of their games. But do you guys imagine this game sells better than It Takes Two? Because that's currently at 23 million copies.
I want to say yes. It seems hard to believe, but that concurrent is kind of insane.
Yeah. Especially if like it's going to continue growing and maybe over the weekend get even bigger. I very much could see them kind of overtaking that position.
I mean, It Takes Two is also not going to stop selling either. So
that's true. Yeah,
that's true. We will see. Very excited for Haze like that. I love those guys. Another review of the week: Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster. I didn't realize this was the subtitle. Gate Rune and Dunan Unification Wars. Do you want your game to sell? Currently at an 81. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't even know what that is. I've played these before. I think to those people point out, I don't remember that subtitle having anything to do with the game.
Maybe they were just like winging it. It's like, oh, we got to do something. Konami published and developed, 81 on OpenCritic. GameRank gave it an 8. GameSpot a 6 out of 10. Interestingly enough, I got to read that review. I'm interested. Nintendo Life gave it an 8 out of 10. But overall, pretty high reviews across the board. People are into this. I wanted to check these games out for a long time. I know people love Suikoden, so this always looked interesting to me. Bench, you have actually been playing just a little bit of this.
Kind of like 30 minutes. 30 minutes so far, but I mean, it's honestly, I don't have much of an opinion. I got like my first couple battles in, and this battle system so far seems interesting. You have 5 to 6 people, and then you tell them who you want to attack, and then they all do it in succession, which is pretty cool. Because then cool. It focuses on each of their attacks and stuff. So that's been fun. It looks pretty. I mean, pixel art looks good. It's definitely seems like older game, but I mean, it's a collection, so you're getting both, and it's only $50. So I'm enjoying it so far. Music has been good, but honestly, I've only played 30 minutes. So next week I'll have to back in and give more in-depth thoughts.
And you're starting with? Are you starting with 1, or did you just go to 2?
Starting with 1.
Okay.
Good. I know 2. I know people like 2 the most, but I'll play 1 first.
I've played this. So I've played the originals not even that long ago. That's why I'm not.
Do you like them?
Yeah, I like them a lot. There's also like there's those turns, and then there's like army battles too. Those are also fun.
Yeah.
So you'll get those, and the whole game's like about like there's like 100 party members to collect. So it's like there's that aspect. You always go around like some people be like, oh yeah, I'll join them out, and others like it's like a puzzle to get them joined. So yeah, I really like those games. So
and here 2 specifically is like an all-time JRPG with the story and stuff. So I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm glad you're still playing 1. I also played 1, and it's not too much in 2, but like some characters I think come back, and I'm like that was enough for me to be like, no, it was worth playing 1. So
it's the same world, so that's more than enough for me to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one interesting thing that happened over the week, I didn't put it in the doc because I didn't know how much we would be able to talk about it, but there was a Suikoden mobile game announced, and also a Suikoden anime. Do you guys kind of view that as almost like Konami's kind of really trying to reinvest into this IP and hopefully bring it back in a big way with a Suikoden 6?
Because they came out with an interview recently that said we spent 5 years on this game, because they spent 5 years on this collection apparently, to make sure it was the best it could possibly be, so that we want to reignite the IP. That's pretty much what they said in the interview. So for sure, that's what they want to do.
I will say, it feels like every person I've talked to about this game goes, "It's out." So that's a little worrying, but hopefully that's just like stray things. Beef, your thoughts?
I think it'll be fine. Like I hope so. I think these games are good. I haven't played any of the others, so maybe they can at least also do those in the collection. I forget which ones are also like I love. The only one I think 3 isn't that good, but I think 4 and 5 are. So yeah, I'd be interested in those. So basically, yeah, I think it could work. I mean, I don't think with the way the games look, I don't think they're ever gonna go like anything bigger than like 2D sprite pixel art. So yeah, I think it could be a good series to like bring back because yeah, I mean I always enjoyed them. So here's hoping.
Yeah, you'd have to hope that like, especially with how Konami's been now very reinvesting in a lot of their IPs. We've gotten Metal Gear coming out this year, which God, it looks better and better every time I look at it. You had Silent Hill 2 remake. They're already working with the Blooper team for another game, which you assume is Silent Hill 1 or 3 remake. You have Suikoden here. All we're missing is Castlevania. And I'm waiting for Castlevania. I hope that's eventually coming soon. But Konami, I love you. I'm excited just to see Konami doing cool things again because they're a very important company for me. Now moving into what we've been playing. Bench, you already talked about Suikoden. Tell me about Monster Hunter Wilds. You finished it up. At least rolled credits.
I rolled credits on it, so I finished like the 3 chapters, and I know there's 3 more in the post game. But I enjoyed it. I mean, the story is pretty basic, but it was fun. I mean, it sets up the fights, and the fights continue to just be great set piece fights, on top of being pretty challenging, especially those last 2 fights. And the music's great. Just the music really kicked in for me in the second half of that story, where just every fight had good music, and especially those last 2. Just like really cranked up the sound bar and really just was fighting with everything. So like the last 2 fights were really good, and I'm just going to continue to keep checking back in on the game. But I mean, I'd give it like probably a 9, I think, so far. But I'm enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the end game, you think you're going to get like super, super deep into it?
I want to beat every monster once before I set it down until every update. I think like I'm not going to grind out armor sets or anything, but I'm down to beat every monster in the game once and then keep coming back with updates.
Yeah, a lot of people are obsessed with this game. My Twitter feed has just been a lot of people talking about this one. I'm very excited for the Monster Hunter community. This seems like, hey, it's yet another Capcom banger. I mean, you guys saw the stat, 8 million in 3 days. Absolutely fucking unreal. It's incredible. I always envy what Capcom's doing. It's like I want other companies to be doing what they're doing. Reinvest in your big IPs, go really hard on them while also allowing your smaller IPs. We give them something like Onimusha. It's like we're going to make this new Onimusha game because there is passion around it. That type of business doesn't really exist in gaming in a big way with the AAA companies, and I'm glad Capcom is in the business of doing that.
Well, because Monster Hunter was the small IP for a long time too.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
playing
very
people
niche.
it was niche basically. But I mean, I think it was decent in Japan, but like that was
Japan
basically
especially.
it.
Yeah, World was the big, like, worldwide, like, huge moment for that franchise. Very exciting. Love seeing Monster Hunter and just Capcom in general do well. Beef, I wanted to talk to you about Avowed. Did you get back to it?
Did I
Are
tell
you
you?
close to finishing it?
I forget who I talked about. Maybe it was Fusion. No, I did beat it. Yeah, I
Oh, nice.
finished.
Okay.
When did
Give
I
me your thoughts.
finish? When did I finish it? I'm trying to remember. Was it last weekend? It was that I cannot remember when I beat it. Took me 50 hours, so
Okay.
that's my fault for them. I got a small game, and I played most of the side content. Yeah, I was pretty
Did
good
same
on
here.
it. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty high on it. I was between 8 and 8.5 for a long time. I actually kind of like the last area and like the ending sequence, so I might lean close to the 8.5. But yeah, I had a pretty good time with it. I mean, and yeah, speaking of like series I hope they invest in, I remember speaking of, I think on Kind of Funny, Jace was like, a lot of places don't like do the Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 or Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 2, that
Very rare.
they don't let like, the game with flaws kind of go to, and I'm like, make a sequel that fixes. I'm like, that's why I think this reminds me of. I was thinking a lot, especially Mass Effect 1, because to me, this is
Yeah.
like a very Bioware kind of game with the companions, everything. Where I'm like, yeah, I would think like this is a good setup. I'm sure like there's some issues I have with it, especially like I think those companions could be better. So
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
like I would, but yeah, I mean, I had a really fun time with it, and like I said, played 50 hours, so I really liked the combat. I helped me a lot get into the Pillars universe, which I've been interested in, but can never play those CRPGs because
Too nerdy.
I, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty much down with it. I don't know if I'm gonna replay it or not. Maybe one
I mean, there's
day.
DLC coming most
Yeah.
likely later this year.
That yeah, and I know that Obsidian's also done like with some games. Like I know, speaking of Pillars 2, I remember like getting like decent size updates. So like DLC, or like I think even updates just to make like I don't know what exactly to like
Quality
make
of life.
better. Yeah, like just that stuff. Yeah, like any of that stuff I think could also like
Mhm.
keep it going, build some life. Because yeah, if they want to like invest in it. But yeah, also makes me hope Outer Worlds 2, like on like the gameplay side, got like to take some of these
Yes.
notes because I do
Give me this
probably
combat.
I do prefer Outer Worlds, like almost like world like. Well, that's because I just prefer sci-fi. But yeah, like I don't remember
Mhm.
like anything about its gameplay standing out. So here's hoping that team got like some notes how to improve.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine. I mean, like, yeah, they're separate teams within Obsidian, but they definitely share tech. They definitely share like ideas within each other and go, hey, check out this gameplay that we're doing for Avowed. And maybe the Outer Worlds team looked at that and it's like, let's try to incorporate that within Outer Worlds 2. At least I hope, because if I'm playing Outer Worlds 2 and it feels like Outer Worlds 1, I'm going to be very, very upset.
Yeah. I wonder when, yeah, now I'm wondering when that comes out because now Fable got delayed and now we know Tony Hawk's in July. I wonder when that's if they're gonna position that maybe as a bigger title or we'll see.
It feels like an August, September title to me. That's
Yeah.
kind of what me and Bob were talking about. It's like, that sounds right about where it makes sense.
Yeah.
The first Outer Worlds came out in October. I remember that. It was like, oh, this is your big October game. Okay, I respect it.
Oh, it was private division
Yeah, that was
published.
right. Yeah, Private Division
Technically
published
Take
Outer Worlds
Two,
1.
but yeah, like so.
Yeah,
I
no.
guess.
I've been playing a myriad of different stuff. Not a lot of new games for me. Kind of with you, Beef, where it's just like I think my schedule is clear until Doom, which is weird. It's like I'm not really interested in anything coming out in April or March, so this is just a big backlog corner for me. But I've been checking out that Pro Skater 1+2 remake. I remember I redeemed it on PS Plus like ages ago, so I re-downloaded it. And I'll be honest, Beef, when I first started, I'm like, damn, I suck at this game. I was absolutely horrible at it. I kept trying to do, because like the last lesson is like, oh, do a special trick, where you do like a button combination with a circle. And they are so hard to pull off in this game. But eventually, like I spent like 30 minutes just trying to do the one in the tutorial. And eventually I got it. And it was like this moment of like, oh, okay, I get it now. And even then, like going through like the Pro Skater 1 maps, I'm like, oh, okay, like I get it. It's fun as hell. But I'm also like, I still feel like I'm not really good at it. But then by the time I got to the Pro Skater 2 maps and I started really using like reverts and what is it when you move the left stick up and down a bunch?
Oh,
Manuals, yeah. Like kind of stringing manuals, stringing all these like different tricks. It's like, okay, I really get this. I'm really into it. It is a ton of fun. I always kind of made fun. I don't want to say I made fun of Tony Hawk games, but I always kind of was like interested by the notion of like them being the greatest games of all time. And it's like, I don't know if I'd rank them above, like even now after playing them and being really into it, I don't think I'd rank them as such, but I would also say I get it now. I get why people are so in love with these games, especially if you're hardcore. You're the types to go into the millions of points type player.
Yeah, I don't know how those people do it, but yeah, I think I kind of get it. Like especially with, like nowadays, I'm sure like hardcore, like more people in the hardcore, like why didn't Tony Hawk 2 have like a 98 or 97 on Metacritic? Because like
Read that did that.
or maybe it was 3. They both had like ridiculous giants, like because you think of them as like sports games, and it's like, well, they are pretty gamey. What's like, and I'm sure, like, yeah, most people like, if you've tried them, like, yeah, even as a kid, it's like, just do a trick on a ramp and think, oh, that's fun, but what's that? And then you learn, it's like, oh, here's how to do a trick, and then like after that, keep the combo going, and then to a grind. And yeah, I've said it's almost like a platformer in some ways. It reminds me a lot of. It reminds me a lot more. Like Mario 64 has like kind of similar structure. It's like here's the world, 8 missions. Obviously, missions in skateboarding aren't that big, but it's like it's similar to that. And it's more like instead of like the gameplay being like jumping challenges, it's just like doing tricks. Yeah. So
Way
I
more
think
arcadey than I expected.
yeah. So I'm surprised how much like buzz 3+4 is getting. So I'm sure if people, and I am like happy to see it's like people are like remembering it's like these are like mostly fun arcade games. They're not just like sports games. So that's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd recommend 1+2. Unfortunately, still not on Game Pass. I'm sure it will be by
It's
the time.
weird.
I know. I don't know what I know people were worried about 3+4, like, because it like was announced in trailer. I was starting to wonder if there was like some licensing with like Tony himself, where it's like they wouldn't let it be on like a subscription, but never mind. So I'm sure it will be by
Mhm.
then. But yeah, I think I have on PS Plus too. It was at some point, so at least if people have on that or get on sale, you should,
You-
yeah,
yeah.
people should play it.
You guys ever look at the top 10 highest rated games on Metacritic? This is a fun, interesting list. Number 10 is GTA 5 on PS4. Number 9 is Red Dead 2. Number 8, we were talking earlier, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. So that was the one that was like super highly rated. Perfect Dark 2000. The original Perfect Dark was number 7, which is insane. Breath of the Wild is number 6, deserved. Mario Galaxy 2, deserved. Mario Galaxy 1, deserved. Grand Theft Auto 4 is the third highest rated game at a 98. And then
I
it's Soul Calibur 1 on Dreamcast, which is
Go.
another really weird one. And then Ocarina of Time at number 1, 99. I always think about that. As like, I was curious. So currently there's only 2 games with a 98 and 1 game with a 99. Do you guys think any game will ever hit 98 again?
Nope.
I
Too
heard
many
it possible.
Too many
Wow.
reviewers.
Yeah, I highly doubt it. I'm trying to think how even close like Breath of the Wild
You-
and Tears of the Kingdom
You-
got.
You had those
Breath of the
contrarian Tears of the Kingdom reviewers who gave it like a 6
Mhm.
for no good
Oh, it's too much
reason.
like Breath of the Wild. God, I hate those reviewers. Like, come on, man. Just say you want more people to read your site. That's why you wrote it like that.
Well, we'll have this discussion. Maybe Mario, the new Mario, will show us something on like plate. Like this could be it. That's the only thing
Yeah.
I can ever think of. That's like maybe.
I mean, yeah, that kind of tier is kind of reserved for like Rockstar, Mario, and Zelda.
Was
Which
Mario
is-
Odyssey in there? It might be a
Mario Odyssey is
96.
the highest rated open critic game. at
Okay, yeah,
97.
that's probably what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. But it's just like, it's pretty interesting that there's only really 3 developers that can do that. And maybe From Software. Maybe I think you could say From Software is close to that tier because Elden Ring's at a 96. So I'm very interested to see like kind of how the reviewer landscape changes within the next few years. But that's not important because this podcast is over with. You guys had a very fun time. You know, like we said, there was not a lot of news this week, but I think we made do some good discussions. Beef, Bench, you guys got anything else you want to say before we head out of here?
Video games are cool.
Oh yeah, that's what I always say.
We need
All right.
please listen more. I need money for the skateboard now.
So if you guys want to help fund Beef's skateboarding addiction, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, every podcast platform. We're going to be on there. Follow us on Twitter at A Slice of Gaming and Blue Sky, also at A Slice of Gaming. But with that, I think we're good. Say goodnight, everybody.
Night, y'all.
Good night.